I'm going to move to some pictures of China. And for me, China, I started photographing it 4 years ago, and China truly is a question of sustainability in my mind. Not to mention that China as well has a great effect on the industries that I grew up around, because I came out of a blue-collar town, for a GM town, and my father worked at GM, so I was very familiar with that kind of industry, and that also informed my work. But you know, to see China and the scale at which it's evolving is quite something. So what you see here is the Three Gorges Dam, and this is the largest dam by 50% ever attempted by man. Most of the engineers around the world left the project because they said it's just too big. In fact, when it did actually fill with water a year and a half ago, they were able to measure a wobble within the earth as it was spinning. It took 15 days to fill it. So this is a massive, it created a reservoir 600 kilometers long, one of the largest reservoirs ever created. And what was also one of the bigger projects around that was moving 13 full-size cities up out of the reservoir and flattening all the buildings so they could make way for the ships. This is the before and after, so that was before, and this is like 10 weeks later, demolished by hand. I think 11 of the buildings they used dynamite, everything else was by hand. That was 10 weeks later. And this gives you an idea. Again, and it was all the people who lived in those homes were the ones that were actually taking it apart and working and getting paid per brick to take their cities apart. And these are some of the images from that. So I spent about 3 trips to the Three Gorges Dam looking at that massive transformation of a landscape. And it looks like a bombed-out landscape, but it isn't. What it is, it's a landscape that is an intentional one. This is a need for power, and that they're willing to go through this massive transformation on this scale to get that power. And again, it's actually a relief for actually what's going on in China, because I think right on the table right now, there's 27 nuclear power stations to be built. There hasn't been one built in North America for 20 years because of the NIMBY problem, not in my backyard. But in China, they're saying, no, we're putting in 27 in the next 10 years. And coal-burning furnaces are going in there for hydroelectric power literally weekly. So coal itself is probably one of the largest problems. And one of the other things that happened in the Three Gorges is a lot of the agricultural land that you see there on the left was also lost. Some of the most fertile agricultural land was lost in that. And 1.2 to 2 million people were relocated, depending on whose statistics you're looking at. And this is what they're building. They're building the new city. This is Wushan, one of the largest cities that was relocated. This is the central headquarters or the town hall for the city. And again, the rebuilding of the city, to me, it was sad to see that they didn't really grab a lot of, I guess, what we know here in terms of urban planning. And there were no parks, there were no green spaces, very high-density living on the side of a hill. And here they had a chance to rebuild cities from the bottom up, but somehow we're not connecting with them.